Welcome back from the commercial break, and we are blessed to be joined by another expert investor and business expert in matters of economy. He also contributes to the ideals that relates to the matter we are discussing. And it's a pleasure to have you, Mr. Alex Muhwezi. We are always, it's a privilege to have your shared views on matters of the economy, and we are dealing with our topic of discussion, that is realities of oil and gas in Uganda for job creation and increase of national revenue. And as you joined us, Madam Sarah Birungi Banage, that is the head of corporate affairs, has come to share with the public, and we, the viewers outside there, and the listeners, I believe we are having a take home by the end of our tonight, this evening. And the inspiration and the information we share, it should create the opportunity for you to identify also other opportunities to help you thrive in this economy that we cannot only afford to lament and say things are not good. As when the commercial break, it has been discovered that oil is doing good to many Ugandans in the areas that have been identified, the Albertine region, and had also requested our guests to tell us about other areas of opportunity, including Karamoja and Acholi sub-region, and other areas. I also hear that those who have done the scientific survey, geoscientific survey, that including part of the southwestern, in Kanungu, that there's also oil. Our desire is to have much more oil. And I was referring to the American, benefit, economic benefit of oil and gas for the America, world leading producer of oil and natural gas. That is really quite interesting. Over around 12.3 million American jobs from the oil sector. Mr. Alex, kindly with the viewers and give us your package to give us the assurance that this oil, we are in the second or the third phase of development, that it's going to help us realize the economic growth of this country. Our GDP is low, that's number one. Our tax base is low, we are relying on debts, that's number two. And at the same time, we are worried of also the corruption, whether our oil money will not be stolen. Kindly come on and assure Ugandans of where we are going.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for the invitation and for always inviting me on your show. I'm happy to join today's show with my sister Sarah from UNOC. Good evening, our viewers. Thank you for giving us your time this evening to share with you what we feel is important for our country regarding the oil and gas sector. I'm sure at this stage, Doctor, each of us is aware that this country possesses reasonable commercial oil and gas resources. I'm sure each of us is also aware that a lot of work is going on for us to realize full commercialization of this resource. I'm sure before I came, Sarah elaborated on a number of activities that are happening for us to realize this dream. The oil sector is very scientific. It's not something that you just jump into. You talked about issues to do with the corruption. You talked about issues to do with governance. One thing I want to state clearly here is that we have delayed as a country to move faster to commercialization, but I want to believe that has been for our good. In the process, we have learned from those who have been in this industry for some time. A lot of benchmarking has been done, and through the process, Parliament enacted very watertight acts to regulate this industry. So we have very stringent laws that speak to the exploration, production, and marketing And then we also have a very stringent Public Financial Management Act that specifically speaks on how oil revenue will be managed. I'm meant to understand through this act, there's an oil account which is created within the central bank, that no transaction can happen on this account without the input of Parliament. And this resource that we are speaking about is actually our resource as Ugandans, but government manages it on our behalf. And given that we elect our representatives in Parliament, I'm sure they will always be reasonable enough to scrutinize and ensure that the transactions that happen on this oil account are reasonable, are commercially sensible. So the regulations in place are quite adequate enough to ensure that we have a very solid oil and gas sector. The other point I want to make is that there is a lot that is happening. I'm sure we had a phase for exploration, we had a phase for licensing, then we had the phase for appraisal, to be sure that actually this resource we are talking about is there, but also it makes commercial sense. So that phase is actually over. Now we are in development. Now we are preparing ourselves towards production. As we speak now, there's a lot of infrastructure that is going on. There's a lot of infrastructure development that is going on in the oil and in the oil area, especially in the areas of Hoima, especially the areas of Bulisa. So there's a lot of work that is going on. The challenge is that a number of us, we are sitting in Kampala and waiting to see oil flow on Kampala Road. That is not going to happen. That's not going to happen. If you are interested in this.
What about the oil pipeline? Because when you say that it will not happen, some people are believing that there will be oil pipeline, they will see oil going to Tanzania, and they will know that our oil now, we are actively doing the oil.
And actually, they will actually see it, because you see, there's a lot of work going on the pipeline. As we speak now, Petroleum Authority of Uganda, I'm sure, land has been earmarked. Project affected persons are being resettled, they are being paid to create way for the pipeline up to the coast. So work is actually going on based on the scientific studies that were made on where the pipeline should pass.
1 second.
So
one second.
Yes.
Do you think as you come to that, we'll be interacting as we go on,
Yes.
analyzing step by step? Do Uganda have the cost benefit analysis? The companies, as you've been having some investors here, they tend to come and you find that they are taking much more, and then back to us our revenue, because this is part of our topic, we find we are getting little, and finally the song is we have oil, but we don't get much. The exploiters, those explorers, they end up seem to be exploiters. What is so far your analytical review in that regard? My comment is that the way the structure of the operations of our oil and gas sector will make it very difficult for us as a country not to benefit from this resource. You have been hearing about the national content policy or regulations. Within the national content regulations, specifically on oil and gas sector, there are specific services, specific products that would be supplied to the oil and gas sector that have been set apart for Ugandans. Things to do with, for example, catering, hotel and accommodation, things to do with clearing and forwarding, logistics. So the industry, the regulations in place have actually protected a number of businesses that Ugandans can do.
Today, even if a company came from, for example, Dubai and said, I want to participate in the oil and gas sector, the question is what you're coming to provide. And there are reasonable companies in Uganda that can do it. And that is quite monitored to ensure that actually it happens and it is actually being done. So in terms of protecting Ugandans and our gains from this resource, the structure in place is very adequate and solid.
Can also add.
Yes, please welcome.
You see, when you have players like the international companies and the country, you enter into what you call the production sharing agreements. That's the beginning.
Production sharing agreements.
Yes, those are some of the good laws it's saying we have and agreements we have. Now, in our production sharing agreements, which is of our resource, that we've entered with these international companies that brought the money that have invested, we have very good we've negotiated very well, so to speak, because in there it is ensured that at any one time government take is 75%.
Uganda takes
all the time. It will always be there. So that you begin off at 75. In the sharing business, if I'm to use the layman's business, the sharing business of how we are going to make money between the investor and the country that owns the resource. The negotiations were done very well, that will always have a take of 75%. So that should comfort and answer your question, that are we on the losing end or the winning end? 75% in a business, if you and I come together and I'm taking 75, I'm already on the winning.
So that will come to the national revenue.
Exactly. That is the country take, Uganda's take. You brought your money all right, you have developed this resource, we are now sharing. When we begin sharing, Uganda's take, our take as a country will be, at any one point, it will not go below 75%. So that is already a win for the country, because you were asking that is there exploitation. Now, if you have 75% of a business, I do not consider that an exploitation.
You have a controlling.
Yes. But also, another thing we can say why it is a very good, our agreements, he was just alluding that they're really good. UNOC, everywhere we are featuring on behalf of government, because these are our joint venture partners. They have the money, but government has a 15% interest in all these developments. A 15% interest is government, and it is UNOC that we represent. So that 15%, we are there to learn, to study, to get capacity, to understand, because this sector was new. So we did not, it's not one of those businesses where the hands are folded. We are in every aspect there fully to understand, get knowledge and capacity, so that in the next round of things, we will be doing it ourselves. That's the purpose. Here we are with you as a joint venture partner, but after studying and understanding and getting that knowledge and creating that capacity, you as a national company can stand on your feet alone. You have got that capacity. So those are the agreements there that exist. And then that good knowledge or that understanding to negotiate that came from the long stay, which was good. When you stay long without developing something, you learn a lot from those that have gone ahead.
There's information you wanted to give us, which is looking at the transparency of granting people jobs, and especially for awareness, the citizens and the viewers who are at the same time viewers and elsewhere who are interested in our discussion, to get to know the entrance point of those who may tend to have the jobs in a transparent manner. There's some information you had wished to share.
The starting point, if you want to do any work as an individual in this season of development, you want to come in as a doctor, you want to come in as an environmentalist, you want to come in as a professional in your skill properly and get a job is you register that talent you have on the National Talent Register.
Oh.
Because when these development people, or when this stage of development is happening, they don't go searching everywhere.
How does those who are not used to the .com and digital or this era,
But they have studied that they have a
just
talent.
brief them, how can they access to that?
Okay.
Yeah, you know, we tend to inform.
Yes, because these are professionals with their good talent. You go to that's the Power Petroleum Authority of Uganda website, www.pau.go.ug. So it is a starting point. Sarah, I'm talented at this, I'm an environmentalist, I'm a surveyor, I'm anything. I go to the talent register and register myself there because that's the shopping ground for talent.
Wow, thank you so much. For the viewers. We are interested to even grant you an opportunity of how you can access job opportunities in this country. And before you say there's corruption, please first do your part, register. You graduates over there, do the same. And in the process of outsourcing and possibly also the adverts, you'll also already be in the system. Please stay tuned on Smart 24 TV. We'll be discussing more, and part of the report that our guests will share in the last session will be to ascertain the revenue that is expected and also being realized out of the oil that have been able to track to be 495.2 billion, as it was stated by Mr. Gobi during the conference, and that is a recent conference. So please stay tuned on Smart 24 TV. See you in the last session where we'll look at where is our money and what is it doing. Thank you.